Well, hello and welcome back to Direct Source Discourse. I am Rowdy Harris, your host today, the Principal Customer Success Manager for Argyle's Mortgage Division. And our guest today is Mark Metcalf. Mark, thanks for joining.
You're welcome, Rowdy. Great to be here.
Awesome. Well, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you work for, where you live, those types of things.
All right. Well, I live in Portland, Maine. I work for Society Mortgage, which is actually located down in Fort Lauderdale. That's where our primary office is. And I have a little office up here in Portland. And I am the director of operations for Society Mortgage.
Awesome. So, Mark, we're just going to go through a simple series of questions here for you, learn a little bit about you, have you share some wisdom with us, and I'll start it off with an easy one. Why don't you just tell us your mortgage story? How'd you get started in the business?
By accident, frankly. I lived down in Florida for a long time and I actually was a realtor when I lived down there, realtor slash bartender while I lived in Florida. Moved back up to Maine, and it was kind of not right after the housing crisis back in 2006, 2007, but not too long after. And, jobs were a little hard to come by. And so I was applying kind of all over the place. And this one kind of landed in my lap and worked out. And I started out as a loan officer assistant, making, 250, 300 dials a day. Became a loan officer, became a processor, processing manager, underwriter, and kind of just worked my way through the process to end up where I am at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't hear a lot of people say, you know what, I was growing up, I just couldn't wait to be in the mortgage industry. It's a lot of by chance out of this type of thing. So appreciate you sharing that. So throughout your career, you've been doing this for almost 20 years now. Is there anything that you're especially proud of in your professional career?
Yeah, I think the big one is taking the company or helping to take the company from a non-delegated status to a fully delegated company, doing our own underwriting, selling to the aggregators. That was a pretty big step. When I started here, we were just coming out of the broker stage into the mini correspondent, and then non-delegated for quite a while. And that transition between the non-delegated and delegated really, took a lot of work. It was a challenge, and I think, myself and I think the company as a whole are pretty proud of that achievement.
Awesome. Awesome. So here's kind of a fun question for you. You've been doing this a long time. You've seen a lot of different things. If I gave you a magic wand, Mark, and you had to wave it and choose to change anything about the industry, about lending, what would you do with that wand?
I I thought about this one for a little bit, and one of the things that I have found is there's so many different systems. Realtors have their own system, mortgage companies have their own system, title companies have their own system, servicers have their own system. My magic wand would be trying to put everybody on the same thing, everybody on the same platform. So from start all the way to the full life cycle of the mortgage, people are using the same thing. You can track it. Everyone's getting notifications. Everyone's on the same page. The file numbers are the same. That would be phenomenal.
Well, that would just be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Love that one. Yeah, I know that's a source of struggle for a lot of folks. And we've faced a ton of challenges, that being one of them, obviously, over the years. But in times of change, in times of leanness and things like that, how does your team stay lean and efficient during slower mortgage cycles?
Well, when things start to slow down, people tend to have a little bit more time on their hands. And we really try to take that time and focus on those efficiencies. Like where can you find those little tasks during your day where you can just really get into the details and figure out what's the best way to do this. When it's really busy, it's a lot of just do, no matter, what or how you're getting there. And when it's a little bit slower, I think it kind of gives you that luxury of trying to find those areas in your operation that are not going as smoothly as they could. So when your next upcycle kind of presents itself, you're hopefully a little bit better prepared.
Yeah, good time to reflect and make sure that your house is in order. Makes sense. Now, I imagine a big part of the success that you guys are able to have is making sure that you're, staying relevant with your offerings, both from a product standpoint and a solution standpoint for both yourself, your team, and for your borrowers. And technology can play a big part in that, right? how are you guys prioritizing your investments in technology this year?
Well, we started off with a pretty big investment in a new CRM. And I think once that cycle has completed itself, everything is up and operational and working. I think really the next steps are looking at some of those efficiencies. There's a lot of AI generated data analyzation tools out there, processing documents, loading income worksheets, asset analyzation. That's something that I think we'd really like to bring into the fold moving forward. That will save a lot of time and energy for our processors and underwriters, especially.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, every time you put one of those things into place, there's change within the team and things like that. And I can tell you from personal experience in our relationship that it seems like you guys do really well at adapting to change. If you could give advice to another lender who might be struggling to get their team on board with a new process, a new tool, or something that the company's invested in, what would you say to them? In other words, is there a pattern for successful adaptation?
Yeah, I think that there really is. And this is something that goes back to when I was a loan processor, really, is the whys. If you explain the why to somebody, where's the benefit for that person? I think they're a lot more likely to adapt pretty quickly and understanding, like, if I'm using this system and I'm using it correctly. And Rowdy, you and I spoke about this early on in our relationship with Argyle, but explaining to the processor in this circumstance why this is a big benefit to you. And I think that really helped us get it off the ground pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important that they know how it's going to help them, right? Not just the borrowers or the
Right.
bottom lines, things like that. So, Mark, are you a LinkedIn guy? What's a personality that everybody should follow on LinkedIn?
I'm really not this one. I was like, man, who do I really follow? And frankly, I'm gonna keep this one in house a little bit. We hired a woman named Ashlyn LaRose not too long ago, and she has been doing a phenomenal job with a lot of our own social media and LinkedIn stuff. And I think she's been producing a lot of really good content and getting noticed. And I think I probably follow her more than anybody else.
So there's our plug out there for anybody watching. Ashlyn Rose, I believe you said her name.
LaRose.
LaRose, Ashlyn LaRose. Go out and give her a follow. She's got great content for Society Mortgage. All right, Mark, last question for you. Now, you've obviously been very successful pursuing the career that you shared how you got into in the mortgage industry. But if you weren't doing this and you could choose another path, go back and rewrite history, what profession would that be that you would be doing, and why is that?
Um, I have thought about this one before, independent of our conversation. But I used to do a lot of construction in the summer in college, and I think if I could, go back and change anything, I probably would go back and be some sort of contractor in some capacity.
Work with the hands, huh?
Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, Mark, it's been a blast getting to know you a little bit better, having you share some secrets for success with the listeners. Thanks so much as always. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. All right, folks, we're gonna stop it there. That'll do it for another episode of Direct Source Discourse today. Be on lookout for our next episode, and until next time, have a great day.